Imagine this. You're looking at a man who seems completely captivated by a woman. His eyes linger, his body language shifts, and his energy is unmistakably different. But what exactly is happening in his mind? What do men really think when they fall in love? Most women assume they know the answer, but the truth is far more complex and far more revealing than what mainstream narratives would have you believe. Today we're going to break down the hidden psychology of male emotions and attraction. And by the end of this video, you'll understand men in a way you never have before. And the last insight I'll reveal is the most powerful of all. So stay with me until the end. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed to the Female Red Pill channel. Leave a like, drop a comment, and share this video, because what you're about to hear is something that every woman needs to know. Let's get into it. To truly understand what men think when they fall in love, we need to strip away the Hollywood fantasy and focus on what's actually happening in their minds. Unlike women, who are generally more in touch with their emotions and socialized to express them, men experience love in a way that is often subconscious, primal, and strategic. Evolutionary psychology explains this in depth. When a man starts falling for a woman, he doesn't just feel emotions. He calculates risk and reward, sometimes without even realizing it. Dr. David Buss, in his book The Evolution of Desire, explains that men are biologically wired to seek traits in women that signal high reproductive value: youth, fertility, and beauty. But attraction is only the first step. What makes a man cross the threshold from attraction to deep emotional investment? The answer lies in something most women completely overlook: respect. A man may be physically attracted to many women, but he only truly falls in love with the one he deeply respects. This is where the red pill critique comes in. The traditional romantic narrative tells women that love is purely emotional, that if a man feels something strong enough, he will stay, commit, and devote himself. But reality is different. Men do not just fall in love based on feelings. They fall in love based on how a woman makes them feel about themselves. In The Rational Male, Rollo Tomassi emphasizes that a man's emotional investment is largely tied to whether he sees a woman as adding value to his life, emotionally, socially, and even strategically. Think about it. When a man begins to develop real emotions, he is also evaluating whether being with this woman will elevate or hinder his life. Does she inspire him to be better? Does she challenge him in the right way? Does she understand male nature rather than trying to change it? If the answer to these questions is no, his emotions will begin to fade, no matter how strong the initial attraction was. This is why you often see men pull away from women who seem to be perfect on paper. It's not about perfection, it's about emotional positioning. A woman who triggers a man's protective instincts while also making him feel respected and admired will always have the upper hand. But here's the key that most women miss. Men are terrified of vulnerability. Unlike women, who often seek emotional support when falling in love, men see vulnerability as a risk. This is why many men struggle to express their emotions, even when they are deeply in love. In Men on Strike, Dr. Helen Smith explains that modern society has conditioned men to see emotional openness as weakness. This creates an internal conflict. He may feel deeply for a woman, but his logical mind is assessing whether revealing those feelings will put him at a disadvantage. Now let me ask you, have you ever noticed a man who was deeply interested in a woman but suddenly became distant? Or a man who was affectionate and present, only to suddenly pull back? If so, you're witnessing this exact psychological battle. He's not just feeling emotions. He's assessing whether expressing those emotions will compromise his power in the relationship. And this brings us to one of the most crucial truths. The way a woman responds to a man's emotional shifts determines whether he falls deeper in love or begins to detach. If she reacts with neediness, pressure, or demands, his subconscious mind registers a threat. But if she responds with calm confidence and maintains her own emotional stability, he starts to see her as different from the rest. In the next section, we're going to explore what makes a man fully commit once he has fallen in love, and the critical mistake that causes most women to lose a man even after he's developed strong feelings. Stay with me, because what's coming next will completely change how you understand male psychology. If a man has already developed strong emotions for a woman, what makes him take the next step toward full commitment? And more importantly, what makes him hesitate or even walk away despite those emotions? Most women assume that once a man falls in love, Commitment is automatic. But this is a dangerous assumption. Love alone is never enough to secure a man's loyalty. Unlike women who are more likely to commit based on emotional connection alone, men require something more, a deep sense of purpose within the relationship. Let's break this down. In The Way of the Superior Man, Deida explains that men are driven by mission. A man's purpose, whether it's his career, ambitions, or personal growth, always takes priority in his subconscious mind. This is why many men, even when deeply in love, can suddenly seem distant or preoccupied. It's not necessarily because they're losing interest. It's because they are recalibrating their priorities. Now here's where most women make a critical mistake. They assume that a man withdrawing means he needs more affection, more reassurance, or more attention. But in reality, the exact opposite is true. The more a woman pressures a man emotionally during this phase, the more suffocated he feels. He doesn't need to be saved from his own mind. He needs space to process his emotions on his own terms. This is why the red pill perspective argues that a woman's emotional self-sufficiency is one of the most attractive traits she can possess. In The Rational Male, Rollo Tomassi emphasizes that high-value men are not drawn to women who demand validation. They are drawn to women who inspire them without controlling them. Here's an example. Imagine a man is deeply in love with a woman, but suddenly he begins to withdraw. Maybe he becomes quieter, less expressive, or seems distracted. The average woman panics. She asks, "What's wrong? Are we okay? Did I do something?" She tries to fix the situation, unknowingly applying pressure that makes him retreat even further. But a woman who understands male nature reacts differently. She doesn't chase him. She doesn't demand answers. Instead, she continues living her life, staying confident, social, and emotionally grounded. She communicates subtly, without desperation. And what happens? The man, sensing that she is not emotionally dependent on him, begins to seek her out again. His respect for her deepens, his attraction intensifies, and most importantly, his desire to commit grows stronger. This brings us to a hard truth. Men do not commit because they are in love. They commit because they feel they are winning in the relationship. This is why so many relationships fail despite strong initial attraction. The moment a man feels like he is losing, whether it's his freedom, his sense of self, or his position of strength, he will begin to emotionally detach no matter how much he once loved a woman. Dr. Robert Glover, in No More Mr. Nice Guy, describes this in detail. He explains that when a man feels like he is constantly being tested, controlled, or emotionally manipulated, he unconsciously starts to resent the relationship. He may not even realize it at first, but slowly, his enthusiasm fades. So how does a woman prevent this from happening? By mastering the balance between emotional connection and detachment. The most desirable women are the ones who can create emotional depth without demanding emotional labor from a man. They understand that love is not about controlling a man's emotions. It's about positioning themselves in a way that makes the man want to invest. Now let's go deeper. What are the exact behaviors that make a man see a woman as the one, rather than just another emotional attachment? In the next part, we're going to expose the ultimate psychological triggers that make a man not only fall in love, but feel a profound sense of commitment and devotion. Triggers that most women are completely unaware of. And remember, the last insight I'll reveal is the most powerful of all, so stay with me because what's coming next will completely change the way you see love and relationships. Shall I continue? Now that we understand why men fall in love and why emotional pressure can push them away, it's time to uncover the hidden psychological triggers that make a man see a woman as truly irreplaceable. What separates a woman a man desires from the one he cannot live without? This is where most people get it wrong. They think men choose lifelong partners based on beauty, chemistry, or even how much a woman cares for them. But none of these things, on their own, are enough. What truly locks a man into a deep, unshakable commitment is a combination of three key factors: admiration, challenge, and emotional security. Let's break each of them down. Admiration is the foundation. A man cannot deeply love a woman he does not respect. He may be attracted to her, enjoy her company, and even feel emotionally attached, but without admiration, his desire to commit remains weak. In The Evolution of Desire, Dr. David Buss explains that admiration is biologically tied to mate selection. Men are drawn to women who exhibit qualities they see as rare and valuable, femininity, emotional strength, intelligence, and an understanding of male nature. This is why a woman who respects a man's purpose, trusts his leadership, and shows genuine appreciation for his efforts naturally stands out. She doesn't just love him, she makes him feel significant. But admiration alone is not enough. A woman must also be a challenge. This is the part that most women misunderstand. They believe that being a challenge means playing games or being emotionally distant. But the truth is far more powerful. A woman is a challenge when she has standards that cannot be compromised. She does not beg for attention. She does not tolerate disrespect. And most importantly, she does not need a man to feel complete. Rollo Tomassi, in The Rational Male, argues that men are biologically wired to pursue, not to be pursued. When a woman positions herself as the prize, meaning she expects high standards and never chases, she activates a man's competitive instinct. He doesn't just want to be with her. He feels the need to prove himself worthy of her. Think about the most desirable women in history. They were never the ones who gave everything freely. They were the ones who inspired devotion by maintaining an aura of self-sufficiency. Men didn't just love them. They worked for them, fought for them, and saw them as treasures to be won. But here's the twist. Being a challenge is only effective when combined with emotional security. This is where most high-value women fail. They are admired, they are pursued, but they do not create the emotional environment a man needs to feel safe enough to fully commit. Dr. Helen Fisher, a biological anthropologist, describes this dynamic in her research on love and attachment. Men, despite their outward strength, have a deep fear of emotional entrapment. They do not open up easily, and when they do, they need to know that their vulnerability will not be used against them. This is why a woman who is both a challenge and a source of emotional security is the rarest of all. She keeps her standards high, but she also creates an environment where a man feels he can be himself, without fear of judgment or control. And this is where everything comes together. The woman who earns a man's lifelong devotion is not the one who tries to win his love. She is the one who makes him feel like a king, while still being the one prize he must continuously work to keep. Now let's take this to the next level. There is one final powerful truth that most women will never understand about men in love. This is the ultimate secret that separates women who inspire lifelong devotion from those who are merely temporary attachments. And that's exactly what we're going to reveal in the final part. Stay with me, because this last insight is the most powerful of all. And once you understand it, you will never see male psychology the same way again. Now, we have arrived at the most powerful insight of all, the one truth that separates women who inspire lifelong devotion from those who are merely passing attachments. If you've been paying attention, you already understand that admiration, challenge, and emotional security are critical. But there is one more factor that most women overlook, one that determines whether a man will see a woman as his true partner for life, or just another emotional experience. What is it? It's a woman's ability to make a man feel like a hero in his own story. This is not about feeding his ego. It's about understanding male psychology at its core. Men do not fall in love the way women do. They do not experience love as just an emotional connection. For a man, love is deeply tied to his sense of purpose and legacy. Dr. Jordan Peterson explains this dynamic in his lectures on relationships and male motivation. He argues that men seek meaning above all else, whether in their careers, their ambitions, or their personal relationships. A woman who understands this does not just love a man, she becomes part of his mission. This is why men are drawn to women who believe in them, not women who control them, not women who compete with them, but women who subtly, yet powerfully, make them feel that their presence, leadership, and strength matter. Think about the historical and mythical women who inspired the greatest acts of devotion. They weren't necessarily the most beautiful. They weren't the most available. They were the women who understood the power of influence, women who made men feel unstoppable in their presence. This is why a man may be deeply in love with a woman, but if she constantly undermines his sense of purpose, criticizing, nagging, or making him feel small, his love will slowly erode. On the other hand, a woman who amplifies his strengths, who encourages his growth without trying to reshape him, becomes irreplaceable. But here's where the red pill critique becomes essential. Modern dating advice often tells women to be independent and never rely on a man. While self-sufficiency is attractive, there is a dangerous misunderstanding here. True feminine power does not come from isolation. It comes from strategic influence. Rollo Tomassi in The Rational Male argues that women who try to compete with men in a masculine way, by asserting dominance, refusing to acknowledge male leadership, or treating men as disposable, ultimately push men away. But women who master the balance between strength and surrender create a gravitational pull that men cannot resist. And this is where most women fail. They believe that making a man feel needed is a weakness. They believe that relying on a man means giving up power. But the truth is the exact opposite. A woman who makes a man feel like her hero without being needy, without being controlling, holds the ultimate power in a relationship. She makes him feel alive. She makes him feel like the man he was meant to be. And in return, he gives her the deepest kind of love and devotion. Now let's tie everything together. Men do not fall in love the way women do. They do not commit because of chemistry alone. They do not stay because of convenience. They commit when they feel like the relationship is an essential part of their purpose, when they feel that the woman by their side makes them better, stronger, and more fulfilled. This is why so many women fail to keep men, even when they are beautiful, intelligent, and caring. They focus on the wrong things. They think love is about getting a man to choose them. But love is not a choice. It is a response. A response to the right kind of energy, the right kind of influence, and the right kind of positioning. And now I want to hear from you. What do you think about this perspective on male psychology? Have you seen these dynamics play out in real life? Let's discuss in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, make sure you subscribe to Female Red Pill, leave a like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And if you're ready to dive even deeper into red pill analysis, check out these 2 videos on your screen right now. They will completely change the way you understand men and relationships. See you in the next one.